Let's talk about how Todo and Yuta pulled off the best sneak in JJK history because chapter 269 just gave us the ultimate hard confirmation on this. Spoilers beware. And hey, just because chapter 269 confirmed, it doesn't mean we haven't been knowing. This is from damn near 4 months ago. So all I'm saying is, why aren't you locked in yet? Why aren't you following, subscribing? Just stop checking my videos when they come on your For You page. Just, come hang out with the crew. So as I'm sure y'all are aware by now, I am talking about this moment where Yuta jumps Kenjaku. We now know that he had the assistance of Todo for this, who actually swapped him in order to get this sneak attack off. If you'll recall, back when this happened, it started a lot of discourse, especially with the power scalers, on just how Yuta was capable of this. And one thing that stood out was this sound effect when it happens. It's not like the typical slicing of a blade sound effect. But then all these pieces started to fit together once we saw the reveal of Todo and his Vibra Slap and the exact same sound effect. Now, this was actually a three-pronged approach that included Takaba. It's just that he didn't even really know his own role in it. But it was thanks to the nature of his curse technique that Yuta was able to get close to Kenjaku in the first place, because he didn't want their comedy routine that he was doing with Kenjaku to be interrupted. So it masked Yuta's approach. And then, combined with Todo's swap, Yuta was able to get off that sneak attack. But so the question I got today is, what did Yuta swap with? Because as we know, Todo needs a cursed energy signature in order to swap something. This whole subject was even brought up in chapter 269 when we found out that Miwa is how he was able to swap Maki. So what did Yuta swap with in this moment? Well, let's break it down. So this is the scene that we see right before Yuta arrives. Takaba is laying on the ground and Kenjaku is standing over him. So it kicks off when Kenjaku senses that Yuta is behind him at the very last moment. In response to this, he quickly tries to turn around to use his curse technique. But as soon as he does turn around, Yuta is behind him once again. So this is not the same original position because Kenjaku has turned all the way around. So Yuta should still be right here in front of Kenjaku, but he's behind him, right? So Todo swapped their two positions. He swapped Yuta with Kenjaku. So now Kenjaku is in this position facing the wrong way, and Yuta is in this position having turned around and made the swipe against his neck. And we know this to be the case because we get another aerial shot here, and here is where Takaba was. Yuta is now where Kenjaku had been, standing over Takaba, and now Kenjaku is the furthest away from Takaba, the position that Yuta was originally in. Todo is just the GOAT, man. I've talked a lot about Wee being the MVP of Shinjuku, but honestly, Todo is right there in contention, because not only did he save just as many people, honestly, as Wee did, but he's also directly responsible for the death of one of the main villains. So 5,300 million IQ and just the king of all of our hearts. And then y'all, for the rest of this video, we're going to run through some of y'all's questions really quick, starting with this one from Nate. And first of all, thank you so much for the kind words, man. But let's go through his questions one by one. What D&D classes would the main cast of JJK use? And this is a fascinating question, and I'm assuming you mean like, how would you best equate what they actually do in JJK to a D&D class? But I'm curious if you mean like, if they played D&D, what classes would they pick? And they're really hard to kind of equate to like typical D&D, right? Because, they're all sorcerers. They all have these special abilities. So like, I don't know if I would best equate that to like, literal sorcerers or wizards or perhaps warlocks, depending on the nature of the technique. But then somebody like Maki, I think, would be a monk or a fighter, maybe some sort of multi-class between them with the heavenly restricted, abilities they have. This is really tough. We actually do have a lot of D&D and JJK crossover in this community, especially in the Discord. And we actually have more than a few systems people have created to translate creating your own custom curse technique into D&D 5e rules. So I would suggest highly checking out that community if you're not already a part of it. But I think I would need to think more about it. But yeah, I think they would mostly be the spell casting classes, and then the more physical people like Maki, Toji, Yuji before he gets his curse techniques would be the martial classes. Next, who out of JJK do you think would be the best to sit on the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones? And best, Yuji. He's shown to be the most compassionate, the most empathetic, the kindest, and I think that's the type of person you want in a leadership position, right? Because Yuji while he is all of those things, he's also capable of making tough decisions, like we've seen. So I don't think he would last long on the Iron Throne because he is too good. Like somebody's going to take him out. He's going to be too trusting. But I think he would be the best. And let's be real, Mei Mei is probably going to be the one that backstabs him because she's basically Cersei. Next, what kind of music do you think the MCs listen to? And Todo. Good question. And actually, Gege has put out, not on every character, but on the main characters at least, he's put out little excerpts about like what their favorite songs are. So check that out because, you know, you're getting it straight from the source in that case. But I think Yuji's the type of person that is going to listen to literally anything, just fits the mood. I feel like he's very malleable in that way. Like he could find something he likes in any genre. Megami, I'm definitely getting emo vibes from, you know? Nobra, I feel like, is kind of like girly music, but like also kind of like hard rock as well. And Todo, I feel like he loves the idol music, you know, like we know he's a huge Takaba fan, right? Not Takaba, Takada, I think is her name. Then your next question, which two characters would get along cross-verse best between JJK and Game of Thrones? And it's got to be Yuji from JJK, just because, again, he can get along with everybody. But who from Game of Thrones would best get along with him? I think it would probably be Sam. That would be like an easy, you know, an easy combo to make. And then maybe Tyrion from Game of Thrones with Mei Mei. And then I'm about to lose so much nerd, gamer, clout, and credibility from this next question, but I have never played Fallout or Elder Scrolls. And I know, like I have, like I promise, I've put in my time. I have the gamer credentials in other areas, but this is one of my big sore spots. Like, I have Skyrim, but I just haven't really played it. And then I have a couple of the Fallout games, but I just never really have put time into them. So I can't accurately answer this question. But I'm gonna pick Elder Scrolls. Like I think it's just more iconic. You know, has proven the test of time a little bit longer, and has less misses than Fallout. He says, having never really played either franchise. Next up, we got a few from AJ here, and these aren't really questions, more so statements, so let's just react to each of these as we go really quick. The first is, let's acknowledge that Maki is the equivalent to Ciri from The Witcher or X-23 from X-Men. And interesting, I'm not really sure on what the connection is with Ciri, so you'll have to respond to this and let me know what you mean there. But with X23, I can see that one. Next, AJ talks about how he likes that Yuji doesn't spam his signature move, Divergent Fist, compared to other shonen MCs. And I'm right there with you. I really love how Gege utilized that throughout the story, and in fact turned something that was originally a weakness, right? Divergent Fist was a result of his lack of understanding of cursed energy and how to utilize it, but he turned it into a strength, using it in two of the most pivotal fights in the entire manga, right? To get a kind of surprise attack on Mahito and Sukuna, like to throw them both off guard. So I love how Gege utilized that. And then your third one just says, Gege really laid out the pieces in terms of what's likely to happen in this story, saying that the moment Yuji used Simple Domain, you thought he would be able to use Domain. And yeah, I mean, I've said it once, I'll say it again, I'll get flack for it every time, but I think Gege is a good writer. Now, I think people like to just throw out that he's a trash writer very reactively whenever there's a chapter they don't care for or whenever something in the story happens that they don't like. But everyone is open to their opinion. Please never get me wrong on that. But I think it's just pretty clear that Gege is objectively a good writer. If you read enough bad writing, you'll know Gege definitely is open to criticism. He has his flaws, he has his faults. There are certainly things that you are, and anyone is welcome to dislike about his style. But he's a good writer. In terms of a binary, you're either bad or good, Gege is clearly good in my opinion. But again, that doesn't mean he doesn't have faults. So anyways, I'm rambling here, but yeah, I agree. And then speaking of Gege's writing, we next have this generous donation from Black Reaper, who also included some very kind words. Thank you so much, man. Y'all can pause to read this one if you'd like, but we've also got more, so hold on. And here's the second part, pause to read it, but Black Reaper is talking about what he enjoys of Gege's writing through the lens of the Gojo Sukuna fight. And I completely agree with you. Gege had us all in the palm of his hand during that fight, and I thought he handled that beautifully. And just in terms of like not power cliffing and showing us the strongest, like he was just so consistent with that. And I agree with your takes on how the fight ended. So yeah, we agree. And then next we got this from Branwyn talking about the fake out deaths in One Piece that I referenced in my previous video, and he knows exactly the death I was referring to. So yeah, that's my one gripe with One Piece, but don't get me wrong, I love One Piece. I am really enjoying it so far. I just hope that this isn't something that continuously happens, but I've been warned that it kind of does. That's going to do it for this one, y'all. Thank you guys so much for the support. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. I might be streaming at some point this weekend, so come hang out. And finally, thank you for watching.